Welcome to Unholy Vibes, a journey through the realms of true horror. Please note, while this is not a religious podcast, the narratives shared by our guests often intertwine with their personal faiths and beliefs. Our aim is to respectfully present these stories in their authentic form, which sometimes includes religious elements essential for context and understanding. We embrace guests from diverse spiritual backgrounds, recognizing that these beliefs can significantly shape their experiences. Thank you for joining us, and let's delve into the unexplained with an open mind and respect for all perspectives. Welcome to the Unholy Vibes Podcast. I am your host, Alex, and today we have a very special guest, Tayler Sant. Tayler, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, what you're about.
Hi, I am Taylor Sant. I am a special guest. I am literally a nobody that Alex happens to know. My husband is a dear friend of Alex, and I am now a dear friend of Alex and his wife. I'm a mom, and that's basically my life right now. I used to work really hard. I work harder than I ever have in my life, but I don't get paid for it. So, yeah. My job description, mother.
Yes. So, like Taylor said, I was originally friends with her husband, Riley, and we met almost 11 years ago.
Weird.
Yeah, 2013. Wow, we're old.
We're
Anyway,
getting old, yeah.
so I met Taylor in 2015 because Riley wasted no time getting into the dating scene and finding the love of his life and getting married. So we've been besties since day one, dude. I remember when we first met, it was at a reunion, a missionary reunion, and I had you take some photos of like our MTC group, our district,
Mhm,
and you
mhm.
took selfies on my phone, which was out like solid move. But you took some pictures, and I remember getting my phone, and I'm like, she did. This is funny. I'm like, I like her. She's great. And
I
yeah, from
remember
then
like
on,
I remember like
yeah,
it was yesterday, yeah.
yep. That's crazy. It's so long ago. Time flies.
I know.
Anyway, the passage of time is the real horror story. Our kids are going to be our age one day, and we'll be old geezers, and then we'll be dead.
Crazy. Yeah, can't wait.
Let's talk
Awesome.
about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So anyway, yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and Taylor has a story for us. And I don't know if Taylor expected me to become obsessed with this story, but in 2018, I believe it was October of 2018, if I remember correctly, which I may not, I was visiting Utah and we had gathered at another friend's house, their apartment, and somehow we just started telling spooky stories. I love a good spooky story. So I usually ask new people or people I haven't seen or haven't heard their stories. I say, hey, have you ever seen a ghost? Do you have a scary story? And we have a buddy who told a few, but Taylor came in with this, what I consider to be an absolute banger. Not a ghost story per se,
Nope.
but a scary story for the ages, in my opinion. And you told this story, and I thought about it, still think about it consistently on a weekly basis for the past 5, almost 6 years.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know it would, impact you the way that it did, but I'm glad because I didn't wanna waste my time telling that story. I'm glad that I someone liked it.
Well, here's the thing. I know the story like the back of my hand. I consider that to be very weird. It's very weird of me to be so overly obsessed with this story, I think. But I've told this story because I've gone camping with other friends and they're like, anyone have any good scary stories? I'm like, I actually do. It's not mine, but I'll tell you. And I give them like the detailed story as I first heard it. I appreciate you, Taylor, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me because you are the reason I'm doing this. That's all
Aw.
there is to it.
Oh, I'm honored. What an honor. That makes me happy. Thank you.
Well, and it's true. And I know you have love for spooky stories, scary
I
stories.
do.
We've talked about it multiple
I do,
times.
yes.
So
Oh, I'm excited.
your story, you and your story are the reason I'm actually doing this because they're good enough stories to be heard. And if I only ever published this episode in the part 2 with Christina, that'd be good enough for me. But I'd love to take it further. So
I
just
am
just
so
know
happy.
you've
Awesome.
inspired me. You've inspired me. So
What an
anyway,
honor. Awesome.
praises to Taylor.
Thank
Um,
you. How
yeah,
sweet.
yes, of course, of course. So enough chit chat, enough jibber jabber.
Enough of
Let's
this.
let's get into it.
Let's do
Taylor,
it.
give us a detailed account of your story. Give it to us, tell us the background, and once the story is over, we can kind of discuss around it.
Well,
Okay?
okay. I guess we call this the story of the tale, if you will, of the red-faced man.
Yes,
Right,
we do.
Alex?
Yes, we do.
The year was probably 2014. I was serving a service mission for my church. I served in Uruguay, Montevideo. Anyway, great time, wonderful time. In fact, part of my hesitancy of doing any podcast about this story is because I cherish my time serving the Lord so much that I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't like confused. Like, I don't wanna get on Unholy Vibes podcast and make it seem like I was an unholy time. You know what I mean? Great
No,
time.
yeah.
Wonderful
It
time.
the service missions are really good times, especially if you make it a good time. But some crazy things happen. And I
Yeah, and
have other people that have served missions that also have crazy stories. And just because you're out serving the Lord doesn't mean that a crazy thing won't happen. It just is.
amen, yeah, and I was actually thinking about that, Alex, like, what makes it? Because I know people as well that have stories from serving out on missions or service missions for their church and stuff, like, how are so many people experiencing these stories? I don't know the answer to that, but isn't it weird that
I think this is a very interesting point. What I think is when you're out serving a mission, regardless of the church, any mission for anywhere,
any religion, yeah.
any religion, you're seeing a lot of people, you're going a lot of places.
Yeah,
The more
yeah,
places and people you see and go and blah, 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 just statistically, I think you're bound to run into some interesting characters.
you're probably
Scary or
right.
not, but if you're just an everyday person, has anything crazy happened to you the last 10 years? Probably not that crazy, right? Because you're
Right.
kind of here, you're doing this, you're living an adult life, you have kids, you have a husband, you're working, you're not working, you know,
Yeah,
we're just parts of the machine now, you know.
yeah.
It's more predictable life, but being a missionary, you're sent out anywhere in the world and you meet more people in that 18 months to 2 years than you do in probably 20 years in your life.
You're
You're just out there.
you're
So
right.
I think statistically, you're just more likely to happen upon a weird thing.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so I
Anyway,
happened upon this weird thing, and I was living in an area, teeny little town, okay? We're talking, like, maybe 400 people live there.
and it was
Maybe.
pretty isolated, right?
Yes. I mean, it took me, like, 2.5, 3 hours to get to the next city when I had to meet up somewhere or travel. We had to get on a bus and travel for a long time. I was pretty out there, isolated, tiny little town. I think 400 people is being generous. Lovely people. Everyone was amazing there. So, to kind of give you an idea, think of an old Western town where there's the storefronts face each other and the street, the dirt road. That's the main part of the town, right? You've got the middle of the road that's dirt, and then the opposing storefronts face each other. And the boardwalk is the sidewalk lifted up above the dirt that's right along the storefronts. Am I making sense?
Yeah. To me,
That's
yes, yes.
that's exactly how it is in this town, except it's not a Western town, it's a South American, the middle of nowhere town.
Yeah.
Anyway, dirt road just like that, and then it had, like, a step up on either side where your sidewalk would be. I had been there for probably 6 or 12 weeks, and because it's such a little town, I know everyone very well. Most everyone very well. I can't go too far without running into someone that knows me or a friend that I've met or whatever. And behind these main area, this where the storefronts are, behind it is where the little homes are, the residential areas. And that's where the streets would start winding or whatever through the neighborhoods. But it didn't go too far back with homes behind those stores because it is such a little tiny place. Well, we had to get home at a certain time, and it was like 3 minutes to the time we needed to be home. And we were walking down the sidewalk along the storefronts, and I hear my name being called. So I turn around, and there's this cute little, I believe she was like 10 to 12. And a little friend that we've made, and we know we're good friends with her mom. She was on her bike and she had her sister like sitting in the basket. And she rode up and she just had like white as a ghost look on her face, just terrified. You could see in her eyes that it looked like she had seen a ghost, like just terrified. She was all upset and she was like, someone's chasing me. I'm really scared. And she kept saying like, a man with a red face is chasing me. And of course, this is my second language now, Spanish. But I've been there for, gosh, almost 18 months. I'm down to like my last 2 weeks in my whole mission. Like I'm going home within 2 or 3 weeks. So at this point, I speak fluently. So it's odd when I have to take a step back and be like, did I hear that right?
Mhm.
But she kept saying, there's a man with a red face. He's chasing us. And she was very upset. So she was talking really fast too. But I had to keep like a what? A man with a what? Red? Did you say red face? And just like talking about it, it kind of brings like the adrenaline back in my body. It's so interesting how that works. Like I'm already getting the shakes.
The
um,
unholy vibes, one might say.
yes, yes, I am getting some unholy vibes up in here. Anyway, being a service missionary, there are rules set in place for us to be safe. And one of those rules is to be as punctual as you can and returning home at nighttime. And we aren't allowed to, for many reasons that I'm sure you can imagine, we're not allowed to have children in our home behind closed doors, right? So I couldn't say like, "Oh my gosh, come home with me," just for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So I did say, "You know where so and so lives, and you know where so," I was able to like list 5 people that I knew who lived right around the corner off the top of my head, right there. I'm like, "Okay," and we were right in front of like the main store at that moment. In fact, we were standing like in front of the doors, and people were trying to walk through us, and she's like standing there crying with her bike, right? And I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to kind of back her away from the main doors. I'm trying to calm her down. I'm trying to guide her to where she could find some safe adults if she can't make it back to her mom. And I remember saying like, yes, if you don't feel safe, you can go to so and so and so and so and so, so, or just walk through these doors and go tell your nearest adult if you don't feel safe, and maybe they can give you a ride home. And I don't have a car, I don't have a bike, I don't have anything to help this poor girl. So I'm just as helpless as she is, honestly. So all I could do is say like, stay safe, go to a trusted adult, don't go back to where that man was. And I give her a hug and I move on, right?
You gotta
So
get
I
home.
gotta get home. Yep. Now to give you an idea, so there's that main street I was telling you about, the main dirt road where the cars and stores are. My apartment at the time was just the street right behind it. So I had to turn down a dark alley to get to my said street, which is just the next street behind this main road. But I had to just wait to get to like my turn off or whatever. In fact, ours was a four-way, like across, where I would eventually turn to get to my home just right around the corner from the main street or whatever. So we're hustling, we're trying to make it back home. And I'm worried about my cute friend who just came to me. But like I said, there's no way I can help her. I don't have anything to offer her. So I just hope that she's okay and hope that she goes and finds a trusted adult. And I keep going home. So I round the corner. I'm walking towards my corner now. I finally get to my corner where I turn off the main road and I'm headed to where the corner of my street starts. And there are 2 men standing in the middle of the road, and there's no lights. It's out in the middle of nowhere. They're just 2 men in the dark, and you can see their silhouettes, but that's basically it. And you could see that they turned and looked at us as we rounded the corner to walk down the street. And I remember feeling like kind of like a gut, like, because as I was looking at them, they separated and they went to opposing corners of the street or opposing sides. So I had the choice because I had to round them to turn down to my street. So I had the choice to either go in the middle of them or stay on the sidewalk and walk behind just the one. And the reasoning at the time, I remember thinking distinctly, I don't want to. I had that eerie feeling in my belly. Like I kind of knew, looking back, I should have paid more attention to that because I kind of had a feeling like these guys aren't up to any good, right?
Little suspect.
A little sus, yep. I remember thinking distinctly, okay, well, I don't want to get jumped by both of them. My chances are going to be better by just choosing the side closest to my home and walking behind that man. So I hopped back up onto the raised sidewalk and keep in mind, I have a companion with me, serving her mission with me. So I should say we step back up to the raised sidewalk. I kind of just guide her to the sidewalk and we start to our corner. And we round this man who, so weird. He's got his back to the homes behind him that I'm walking along, right? So he's got his back to me. and he's facing the intersection that he was just standing in the middle of. And it sounds when I say intersection, it sounds like it's a busy road. It's literally no one's out there. It's like a dirt road that just comes to a cross or whatever. But he's got his back towards me, looking to the center, and I don't know where his friend was. I wasn't paying attention, but I know he's somewhere on the other side of that road, right? I just remember looking at him all dressed in black. I didn't want to look at him to make eye contact. I'm just trying to round this guy, squeeze between him and the homes that he's standing by so I can just keep staying on the sidewalk so I can turn down this road and get to my house safely. We pass him, and he doesn't turn. He stands still. He's standing still, doesn't look at me, doesn't even seem to notice that I pass him, and we are the only 3 people right there, which is very odd that he's standing at the very, very corner of the sidewalk, facing away from me, just almost like he's waiting for me to pass him. And again, got this crazy gut feeling that like, oh, okay, this guy's to any good. And the moment I pass him, I couldn't have gotten more than a foot beyond him. Gosh, I'm shaking. When I felt like I walked through a literal wall of fire. Like, when you're camping or cooking and you put your hand over the flame to see, like when you're a kid and trying to see like if it's going to burn you and you put your hand through and it doesn't burn you, but you feel like intense heat.
Mhm.
It was that sensation, top to bottom, like head to toe. I literally felt like I walked through this wall of heat. And I can't explain what it was. My gut totally did like a flop when I felt this sensation. My heart rate went up. It was like this crazy outer body experience. I don't know. I've never felt anything like it to this day. It caught me so off guard, this heat that I felt, that I immediately just kind of blamed it on this guy, right? Which, why would it be him, right? Like just some guy standing there. I don't know why I thought it was related to him, but I think something in me knew it was. So, like an idiot, I turn around and he is no longer standing in the corner and facing this dead intersection. He is mere inches behind me. And wouldn't you know it, he's got a red face. Now, when my little friend came up to me all freaked out in cold sweats and terrified, and she said, "There's a man chasing us and he's got a red face." I truly thought red face like, well, he's been chasing you for so long or running for so long. Like he's a
Blush, kind of.
flush. Yes. Yeah. I did not for one second think he would have a bright red, what appeared to be like a plastic mask on his face. I had no idea that's what she meant. But wouldn't you know it, that's the guy that was now following me too, right? And I now understand why she looked like she saw a ghost, because I feel the same way that she looked. And what made it scarier is the sensation I felt before turning and seeing him. That, I guess, the most appropriate word or the term I can think of right now was the most unholy vibes I've ever felt in my life. It was like hellfire, truly. Like it hit me like a ton of bricks. I walked right through it and it gave me shivers. It was so strange. So yeah, turn around. This guy, probably 6 inches from me. If he wanted to, he could have reached out and grabbed me. But yeah, close enough where he could just easily kick my feet out from under me, push me, grab me, but he's not. Just just hanging out right behind me, just following us. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with like the dance group, the Jabberwockies. That's kinda like when I, like, in my panic, and tried to tell people, that's what I kept going to, like, "Oh, it's like the Jabberwocky mask," but it was bright red. It was so bright red, I don't think it could have been skin. It wasn't palpable like our skin is. It was like
There
it
was
looked
no
like it was
movement in it, it was
yeah,
just
it looked like it was, like, almost hard, like his face was hard, plasticky. And
interesting.
I wanna say the reason I felt like it was a mask or it reminded me of the Jabberwocky because the eyes were like slits. You know what I mean? It just was so unhuman.
Right.
And I only took one look at him before I flipped around and felt like I was gonna die, right? So I'm now walking as fast as I can without running. I grab my companion's arm, who I don't think she saw his face. I don't know if she turned, but she knew he was right behind us. And she saw me turn. So I grab her arm and I tell her to run. And this sweet girl, she's from Peru. So of course I'm speaking to her in Spanish and I tell her to run, which we didn't really. We were just speed walking. I can see my home right across the street. So I can see my door. The thing is where we're living is it's very different than it is here in the States. Well, at least where I live here. So I mean, if you're listening to this and you live somewhere in the States that's just like the place I'm describing, I apologize. Anyway, so all the doors had keyholes that were like 200 years old that you could bend down and stick your eye through and see the home inside. The keyhole went through the door, right?
Old
And they had
school.
old school, yeah. And every home I lived in Uruguay was just like that. And they give you when you move in, they give you, like, this, like, heavy skeleton key that, you get to stick in this hole in the door and right? And you would know someone was home because 'cause you'd stick your eye down there and you could see the key on the other side, right? So I'm speed walking across the street, and I've got this big, big bag full of my Bible, my scriptures, all my pamphlets that I pass out to people, and my keys. My skeleton key somewhere in my bag, and my bag is, like, a good, I'd say 12, 13 inches deep, okay? And every single night, routinely, when we get to the door, one of us has to stick our arm clear down in the bag, and it takes a good, like, 2 minutes to find the key every single night. And the bag is deep, and it takes me probably 6 inches before I can even get to my books and stuff.
Lots of stuff in it too, cluttered.
Yes, and so there is open space in my bag before I even hit anything. So I'm like, my brain's thinking for me, thank heavens, I'm on adrenaline. I'm like trying to run for my life or walk as best I can for my life. And I've still got my companion. I've got her death gripped in one arm. I'm walking with her. And then the other arm, I go to frantically search for my key, knowing that every night for the past 18 months, I've had to look for this key. And it's always at the bottom of the bag. I reach down, I stick my fingertips in my bag to go find my key, and it touches my fingertips. My key. I don't know if it was like God himself or if there was an angel with me that like, your key. I have no idea, but it literally had to have been floating. I didn't get past my knuckles into my bag. It was just there. Grab my key. No fumbling, no shaking, no jittering. Stuck it in the door. Opened the door. Pushed us in. Closed the door. And locked it as he's banging on the door. And his eyes go down. He's looking at us through the keyhole, and we have like a little rectangle window. It's got design in the window, so you can't see clearly through it, but you can see light. So I could see his silhouette moving back and forth, banging on my door, trying to kick the door in like loud bangs. And again, going up the window and back down to that little keyhole to look at us. And we crawled into our bedroom, or the back bedroom, and we stayed there for hours, shaking, shaking. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. Like I said, I left the country 2 weeks later, so I had to kinda just, like, survive for the next 2 weeks, but I was shook.
Well, and if I remember correctly, you weren't the only ones who lived in that.
No, yeah.
s-
Yeah, so there was 4 of us that lived there, and just like we were trying to get home in a timely manner, I knew because we walked in and they weren't home yet, so I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're on their way home, and they're gonna be on this same street any second now." So I picked up my Nokia brick phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I called them, and I was like, "Don't come home." And they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Listen to me. Don't come home. There's a dangerous man outside. He follows home. He's trying to get in. Don't come home. Like, go to your nearest safe adult." Basically, I gave them the same instruction that I gave my cute little 12-year-old friend, right? Like, go find the nearest adult and stay with them. I'll explain to you later. You can't come home until I tell you it's okay. I don't know when it's going to be okay. Well, I ended up calling the police, which, no offense to my Uruguayos out there. They didn't do anything. Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
the other, if again, this is me, just if I remember correctly, the other
yeah.
two were running late, which is why
Yes.
they weren't home. So it was kind of
Yes.
a good thing they were running late, right?
Yes. Yes. When I called them, it was like probably like 2 minutes past the curfew. And the first thing one of the girls said was like, "We're on our way." Like I'm getting mad at them for not being home.
You're
I'm like,
like,
"No,
don't
don't come
be.
home. Don't come home." Yeah. They were so confused. So I ended up calling the police, which I don't think they even drove by or anything. They didn't never showed up. Police system is very different out there than it is here. We knew a wonderful man who lived near us who I ended up calling just to kind of like, I needed some manpower, right? To make me feel a little bit safer. So I made him like parole the streets, and then I ended up having him go and pick up my friends and made sure they got home okay. But yeah, it was insane.
How long was he at the door kicking?
A good 10 minutes.
Really? Okay, I
Yeah.
always thought it was longer. I thought he was there for, like, an hour.
No, 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 about 10 minutes, which and the time felt like an
Very long.
hour, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Jeez.
probably only 10 minutes, and he pounded the entire time. And so our home had 2 bedrooms. One was in the back of the home and one was in the front of the home. My bedroom that I slept in was in the front of the home, and they have these bars on the windows, and at night you can reach up and pull this grated metal cover over the window. It was like a rolling window cover. That was already down when I had gotten home, but I remember him banging on the window as well. So he would go back and forth from our bedroom window or the front window of the home to the door. He was just trying to make as much noise as possible for like 10 minutes. And then the noise ceased, which I didn't have any good way of looking out there. There's no yard or like side yard. We're connected with a bunch of other homes. It's just like a row of apartment buildings, right? I wasn't going to stick my head out there and be like, hey, you know. So I had no idea if he was just hanging out in front or if he was out down the street. I didn't want to lift up my metal window covering, which is loud, to see if he was still there. You know, it's different here where I can, like, here at home, I can stick my head out the door or look at a different window or open the curtain. I felt like I had no resources to know if I was safe or not.
You're just blind. He could have been waiting
Yeah.
out there quietly for who knows how long.
Right, right. Which is why I was like, okay, I'm going to call someone who isn't afraid of the street right now and just have him get an eye on things. And then whenever it is safe, I need my friends to be able to come home.
Okay, so the next 2 weeks, nothing happens, right?
No, I never saw red face Matt again. I had to literally get out of bed and put on my big girl panties and go outside and teach my young friend from Peru how to do this service mission with the weeks I had left with her. And it was honestly ill-timed because I remember being sad to leave the country that I had lived there for 18 months, and I love the people on the place. I remember being, like, sad to leave, but at the same time, I remember being, like, relieved that I was moving from that street.
Yeah. So, do you still keep in contact with our Peruvian friend?
For once in a while. I mean, she like me, she's got
Whole life.
family and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but
You should
very
reach out to her and just say, "Hey, do you remember this?"
I should ask
And
her.
see what she has to say about it. Now, what do you think this guy was trying to do?
It scares me to think about. I don't know because, like I said, if he wanted to grab me, totally could've, right? Because I never actually ran. 'Cause I knew if I ran, I'd get to my door and need to find my key, which looking back, it was given to me, so I should have run. I don't know. But he never chased us. It's like he was wanting just to scare me or something. I don't know. Or it's like maybe he decided if he did want to do something with us, he decided that after he lost us and once we got inside. But at first, he just followed me home slowly.
So, okay, I think about this and I think, what was this guy trying to do? And his companions, his partners apparently didn't step in, right?
Not that
Like,
I saw. I don't know.
right.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, if you're with a group of people and you wanna break in somewhere, you probably can, right?
Right. Right.
But were they just again, were they trying to scare you? Were they trying to abduct you? Were they trying to mug you? Who
I don't
knows?
know. Who
And
knows?
that's
Right.
like you said, the scary part. It's scary to think about because you could have been kidnapped, you could have been taken, or maybe they just wanted to shake you down for any cash you had on you. Be sure to
Right.
carry cash for muggers, you know?
I did, honestly, I had cash on me. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know, like, endless possibilities what he could have done with me. And, like, I was, like, resourceless. I mean, nowadays, I carry a gun with me, I've got 3 little babies I need to protect, I have a car, I have many things to do that I can feel more protected. I was at the will of this man. So, thank heavens he didn't reach out and grab me because he could've. He was so close to me. And like I said, I mean, I chose to walk right behind him. So, I mean,
or
he literally could have turned around.
maybe the fact that there were 2 of you made it harder for him to maybe, like, commit to doing whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you'd been alone, it could have been a different story, but why chase a girl on a bike with a baby, as well? Like,
I know, I don't know. But
very interesting to me.
interesting, we were definitely protected, as you saw with the whole key thing. You can choose to believe it or not, but that's one part of the story that is very significant to me because, like I mentioned in the story, every night I had to scrape my knuckles along the bottom of that bag and dig for that key.
You ever have to just pour it out, and
Oh,
find the key?
100% I have before, right? And gather back up my books afterward or whatever. We're talking a wide bag, like a big old square bag, just full of things in the bottom, heavy books. So the fact that I was able to like put my hand in the center of this bag, not touching any of the sides, and the key just like, touches my fingertips. Normally I grab the key and fumble and just shake the lock a couple times and loosen up that handle and then pull. No, it opened up like butter.
You were like, "Bam, bam,
That
bam, in,
yes.
go.
Yes, it was like there was like an angel in my bag. Here you go. An angel
Come to
opening the
see
door
her."
for me. An angel slamming the door for me. I was very much protected. I felt that overwhelmingly in the situation.
Yeah.
But
One
as much as I felt protected and that I wasn't alone in that sense in that situation, I also felt, like I said before, like I felt that whoever this man was and whatever he was up to, there was a very malevolent feeling around him.
yeah, no
He
good
didn't
intentions.
no good intentions. He didn't touch me. He didn't harm me at all, but just merely walking past him. And he was just wearing like black trousers and a black hoodie, just looking away from me. Like he gave me no reason to scare me. So like the fact that I walked past him and got like maybe a foot or two and then hit this like crazy wall of fire is what I call it. And then turned around to see that he was right behind me. I don't know if that was God warning me, like, hey, there's a scary guy behind you. I don't know. But I've never felt anything like that, but that feeling alone told me I'm not safe.
Right.
You know
Well,
what
and
I
I
mean?
think you'll be able to pick that feeling out if you ever feel it again and say, "We need to go.
Oh,
Time
yeah.
to time to skedaddle." I know that
Yeah.
very distinct feeling.
Yes.
And your story and the other red-faced man's story are very different from each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
And hers was more like it could have been a demon or a spirit. This is a person we're talking
Yeah.
about.
This is a
This
man.
is just
Yeah.
a person, but they have enough evil vibes to just trigger a fight or flight in the most intense way. And luckily it worked out because who knows what could have happened. We don't even want to really think about it. But
I know.
in this
Going
small,
into demons, though, some believe that those are just evil men that aren't alive anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, a demon
yeah,
wasn't a good person when they were alive, if they ever were alive. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, and I like to discuss this with the people I talk to about these things because everyone has different beliefs, religious or not,
Mhm.
agnostic, atheist, there's a jillion different religions on the earth.
Mhm.
Some people believe in spirits, some people don't. I like to look at it from all these different perspectives and angles because
Mhm.
someone may have a belief that's like, "Oh, that's interesting." Because that's maybe I wouldn't have looked at it from that perspective. But with this being just a person, it makes me wonder so many things. And like, this is a small town. You said 400 people max, right? You were in this area for a while, right? That specific area.
Yeah, probably 12 weeks or so.
In that 12 weeks, any gang activity, any other things you'd heard of, like anything like that?
No, no, which there are other parts of the country that I had lived in that wouldn't have surprised me at all, right?
Mhm.
But this was the first time in 12 weeks I had lived there that that was the case. But again, certain places in the world, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. But yeah,
Right.
just a man. From what I know, could he have been more than a man? Maybe he wasn't man, but from my naked eyes, yes. I believe
Some
it to
dude with
be
a red face.
some dude with the red face, yep. So, that's my story.
Oh, gave me the chills a couple little shivers a couple times,
I
shivers
mean, when
down
I
the
was
spine.
telling it, to this day, I, like my hands get shaky, I get all sweaty, like, it brings it right back, and
Well,
that's how
I'm
you know
I'm
it's real.
I'm making you relive a traumatic event to trauma response.
And you know
You're
what?
having
It's something that I lived through, and for that, I'm grateful, and I'm happy to share it.
a little
So
bit of PTSD never hurt nobody, right?
no, yeah, we're fine, no harm done.
Yeah, and here's the thing, things could have been worse, they weren't, and we're glad for it. We're glad that
Right.
you're here. I'm just so curious, like, it blows my mind because after hearing your story and the other story, I looked online and was like, "Red-faced man, Uruguay." What I just would Google that, nothing. I looked up red-faced man, kidnapper, stalker, gang, whatever. I looked up all sorts of stuff just to see if there was anyone out there with another story, and I found nothing.
Really? Mm.
Nothing. Nothing of substance, at least, and it seems so odd that it really is like, here's the thing, it could have never happened ever again. Maybe they're like, "Man, kidnapping's not for me," and they turn their life around. But who
Yeah,
knows? I feel like stuff like this, there's so many possibilities, and we can only speculate. Maybe you got a little insight to the dark underbelly of the world of human trafficking, or
maybe,
maybe it
yeah.
was just someone trying to mug you, but, like, why would they chase that girl? Does she have money on her? I doubt it. That
No,
sounds
yeah,
like, "Hey, I want to kidnap you," kinda thing to me.
yeah, I think
And,
it was she was on a bike, yeah.
dang, let's find out all the people involved and reach back out to them and see if they've had any
I
red-faced men
mean
trouble in
to.
that area,
I mean
because
to, yeah.
you could follow up with the Peruvian gal. You could just email or Facebook, I don't know, anyone in that small town and be like, "Hey, this happened. Has anything like that happened? Because it's been 10 years. We may happen upon something." And they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, it became a problem," or
They
whatever.
now run the red-faced gang, yeah. In
I
fact, the
mean,
entire town is red-faced town. Yeah,
that'd be terrifying.
so scary.
So, that's just I love the story, and thank you for telling it, and it's
Thank
just
you for letting me, yes, so fun.
I hope everyone listening enjoys it as I have, and I hope I haven't overhyped it. It's still, even hearing it after telling it a dozen times myself, I was just like, "Ooh, ooh, you got me."
Even if you overhyped it, it was a real story and it really happened, and it was real scary when
Yeah,
it happened, so just put
yeah,
yourself in my shoes and you'll feel better about the story, okay?
yeah, there you go. And if you or anyone you know has ever been chased by a kidnapper, killer, stalker, you ever seen a ghost, had a scary, spooky experience, we
I
wanna
have
know
many
it.
stories for you and for podcasts to come. I can
Oh,
be a special, special guest for more stories. In fact, real
wow.
quick, a little Easter egg for you, Alex. This same thing happened just this summer, but no red face.
What?
I'll tell you the story. I thought you heard, but I'll tell you the story later. Yep.
I
Crazy,
know what
right?
you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, like a legit thing. But
Next time, is that for the next time?
mhm.
Little
Yep.
teaser trailer? That's
Yeah.
right. Well, dang, I'm excited. So, if you're listening or watching, look forward to that. Keep an eye
Stay
out.
tuned. Yep.
And stay tuned for sure, because we have a Red-Faced Man Part 2, related, kind of not related story from another special guest, and we'll be able to hear that so people can have a little 1-2 punch there. Do you wanna discuss anything else about this? Do you wanna Anything else you wanna bring up, or you feel
No.
content?
I feel content. I'm happy. Thanks for letting me share. It's been fun.
I'm so glad that we finally did this. Thank you. Anyone listening, be sure to check us out on Instagram at Unholy Vibes Pod. If you have any spooky, scary stories, reach out to me there, DM me there, or you can email me at unholyvibespod@gmail.com. Since we've been first announced, we've had like a dozen people reach out. So we've got more in the pipeline, and Taylor's even referred us to some other folks. So get hyped, get spooked, stay spooky, and get ready for some more unholy vibes. Thank you for listening. Have a great one.